Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning back into Just Curious with Sara. We're in New York City, so you know it's the best place to go for all food treats galore. And so I just had to interview our next guests. They opened up a business where people line up around the block just to get one of their tasty treats. They have a beautiful love story, an amazing business success story, and it all started in one tiny apartment. They are the founders of Le Appartement 4F. Please welcome Gautier and Ashley. Hi, guys. And I need to ask Gautier, because I was just watching an interview, how is your cholesterol doing? And have you come to terms with your reduction of butter in your diet?
No, I decided to ignore it for now and just do another test.
Okay. It must be those tests that were wrong.
Yeah.
He was moping for like a solid week and like trying to eat just like lettuce. And I was like, that's not sustainable, Gautier.
No, and it's also a little bit hereditary because we have high cholesterol in my family. And since I was little, I remember when we went through that phase where we were like not eating butter and this. And honestly, I think if you lead a pretty healthy life, that part, works itself out.
Yeah.
I mean, but when I saw that I like laughed out loud because it's literally Ashley saying he eats a croissant every day and sometimes many croissants. And then it's you talking about cutting back. And I thought, oh, this is a tragedy.
But also the night before I took the test, I think I ate a lot of cheese. So
see, you know what? You really have to fast big time before, because one time, they say 4 hours, go for a full day.
Yeah.
Every time I'm like, I am not going to let these people get me down with these numbers.
Exactly.
Okay, so I want to start right in and talk to you a little bit. I'll do the intro afterwards when you guys are done. So now I have read everything, so I know a lot of these details, but I want you to paint a picture of what did your lives look like pre-bakery? Like the jobs, the day-to-day, what did everything look like?
Yeah, before the bakery, I was in school for nursing and I was also working full-time in finance. So I was waking up at like 6 a.m, leaving the apartment that we shared in apartment 4F.
4F, I've heard of it.
And then I wouldn't get home until like sometimes 10 p.m.
very late.
Very late. Yeah, between like studying for tests and working and everything. So the only time we really got to spend time together was like the weekends, which we looked forward to. And Gautier was traveling a lot as a software engineer. So our lives were completely different pre-pandemic and pre-bakery.
Now, I need to know how you guys met. What's the love story here?
So I like to say we met the old fashioned way because we met at a bar. We had no like mutual friends. He was at the same bar I was, and I was with my best friend. He was with his best friend. And we just started talking over a drink. And
well, who talked to who first? There are more details here.
I think I'm the one that did it first.
I think so too, but he's really shy. So I'm shocked that you were the first person,
Yeah.
but I think he was the first person to like, give me a funny look there. It's a whole story. There was a guy and he wasn't tipping the bartender. The bartender got upset with him. So there was like a confrontation happening in between us. So when it was done, me and him just looked at each other like, what was that? And then I think it made it easy for us to start talking, and
it gave you your in.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so you hang out that night, and then who do you guys say, can I get numbers? Like what happens next?
Yes. So we hung out that night. And I like to go to sleep very early.
Me too.
Yeah. And my friend had to actually beg me to go out that night because I really am a homebody. And it was the first time that I ever met a boy and like closed out the bar, I guess.
Oh,
yeah, ever. And then we went to another bar that stayed open a little bit later, less nice. We went from like a beautiful cocktail bar to like, just a pub. And then Gautier asked me for my number. And then he waited. What was the rule?
3 days. You have to
3 days. He said you have to wait.
Is this a guy thing or a French thing?
I don't know. I just saw it somewhere.
He read it online or something. So then he texted me like 3 days later, like, salute, it's Gautier. So I knew it was the French guy that I met in the bar. There was no question. And then he asked me out on a proper date. And then now here we are.
Now, when was Chip born?
Oh, he was born June 9th,
June 9, 2020.
2020. I've been asking to get a puppy for so long. And during the pandemic, when we were both forced to be home, we were walking a lot to Prospect Park. And I finally just kind of demanded that we're getting a puppy. Like I did all the research. I knew what I wanted to name him. I told Gautier that we're getting a puppy and he was like, whatever, it's fine.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Now, Gautier, you were a software engineer. You were working here with a French company.
Yes, I was working with a French company called Dalet for 10 years. I arrived in 2012 and I quit my job in 2022.
And so were you planning on staying in the US or did you ever want to go back?
Well,
Because your family is in France, right?
yes, when I arrived, it was a 1-year contract and then it was renewed for another year. And each time I wanted to renew, I liked it here, so I didn't want to go back. I had no plan of a million bakery, but I like the country, so I wanted to stay.
Well, and at what moment did you guys realize, because I'm meeting someone, I mean, I know you lived here, so, but like, oh my gosh, there's this French guy. And then like you thinking, I guess I'm not going home. Like I might be staying. She's pretty cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
Gautier loves New York more than anyone else I know. Like, it's really nice to see him and his friends because I feel like they really take advantage of being in the city. They know all of the events. Like Gautier knows about every free show, all of the events, all the new restaurants. Like he really enjoys New York City. So it was almost, and I'm from Long Island and, you know, I grew up going into the city and
Yep.
I lived in the city, but I didn't take advantage of my surroundings the way Gautier did. So I was never afraid of him like one day getting up and leaving and moving back to France. Actually, I told him that I would be open to moving to France and he shot it down. He's like, nope, I love New York City too much. So
You're like, good, got that off. the
okay.
plate.
Exactly.
Now-
His mom doesn't love it, but
No, I was going to say, imagine for parents. My sister's married to a guy from Brazil and he wasn't planning on ever living in the US. And so that conversation, sometimes my sister stayed, so I'm grateful. But at times I look at Rodrigo and I'm like, your poor mom.
yeah.
Now, what I loved was your mom's reaction, Gautier, to you saying you were going to open a bakery. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, when I told my mom I was gonna quit my job and be a baker, she didn't love it.
Well, okay, to be fair, he did not say, I'm going to quit my job and be a baker. We were traveling in France looking at different venues to get married. And we were listening to a podcast and we were really inspired. So I encouraged Gautier and I said, look, your bread is really good. I think we should just start selling it to friends and family and maybe strangers. I didn't think anybody would buy it. What do you think? And he was like, yeah, it's a good idea. So that day we told his mom, we're thinking of selling his croissants and his baguettes. And I mean, even just that, the thought of like having a bake sale, she was like, no, it's not a life that you want. Think of the children, which we had. We have no children. And this was 3 years ago. She was like, you know, you're an engineer and it's a hard work and there's no days off. And I was like, Marie-Pierre, we're just talking about a few croissants here. So I feel like she knew something that we didn't know.
Yeah.
Because
Well, did you?
Well, I went to school for engineering, so to her, I had to be an engineer for my
Yep.
whole life.
When I also think parents think solely of safe plans that will involve insurance,
yep.
paying the rent, a
Yes.
very safe space. But I once saw these two men talking about they wanted to travel the world. They were two brothers and they asked their parents and their parents said, no, what will you do? You don't just quit. You've been to school, you have a job. Then they went to ask the advice of their grandparents, older and wiser, and they didn't even hesitate. They said, go, do
Yeah.
it. So I
Yeah.
think to dream like this and say, let's just try it. You only live once,
Yeah.
you know?
It's really funny because we went back to France in November and his family, they were like, you know, giving us a little toast, like how, you know, saying how proud they were. And the dad was like, you know, we were a little nervous at first. And his mom goes, I was never nervous. And then the whole family goes, no, you were very nervous. Like, that's not true. And she's like, well, maybe a little nervous. It's okay that you were nervous, Marie-Pierre. You don't have to erase it.
I love a mom. I have one myself who likes to rewrite history a little, depending
Yeah.
on how it turns out, because I guarantee if the bakery didn't work, she'd be like, I told you.
Exactly. She's really funny. So
Now, you got to tell me how you learned to do this. I know originally it was because you couldn't find everyone knows having a croissant outside of France is just, you should just expect a lesser version.
Right.
But you couldn't find it. Not only were you trying to answer the call, but when did you learn to bake or even think to attempt to bake? Did someone teach you growing up?
No, I mean, I always knew it was one of the hardest pastry to make. And I remember when I was very young with my grandma, I tried to do it. I think I was 12 or 14. I did like a very weird version then. And then I started baking in 2020, I looked online. I just went online and keep going and going and going. Like
and it was really because you wanted a great croissant. It was really for your own interest.
Yeah, it was a challenge. Like, can I make that? Can I make it happen? And can I?
Yeah, because he's very picky. He would get bread. I won't name any bakeries. I personally thought they were fine, but he'd be like, oh, it's not this enough. And he'd be like, I guess the way to tell
the sound.
He'd be crunching it. And he just always had something to say. And so one day he just handed me a croissant. I was actually in bed still, and he handed me a croissant, and it definitely didn't look like the ones that he makes now. It kind of looked like a prepackaged croissant.
Okay.
Oh, it's really good. Can I have another one? He was like, no, I made this from scratch. And I didn't know how hard it was to make. I didn't realize it's like a 3 days thing. So I said, well, can you just make another one really quick? And he was like, that's not how this works.
And I think I heard you describe if this is the same croissant, that it was denser, that it wasn't quite as airy.
Yeah.
Come on, talk to me. Let's hear of these.
It was definitely like a brick of butter.
Yeah.
I mean, it tasted good, but I mean, if you add that much butter to anything, like you can add it to bark and it'll taste good. It was definitely
it didn't rise or anything.
No, it's just like thick.
A little dense.
Yeah.
Thick through the middle.
I have a picture of the croissant. Actually, it's not, it's a far cry from where he is now.
And you knew at that point, he had been trying to do this. So or did you? Because he had been, this was one of the first ones.
Yeah. You made bread before, right? Like you were making.
I started my starter before it was cool, just like a few months before in November 2019. So first I started with bread, which was the first challenge. And then when I got there, next step is croissant. Yeah.
So I didn't know about the croissant until he handed it to me.
Okay.
I thought he bought it. So when he said I made it, I was like, oh, make another one. He was like, well, in a week, you'll get another one. Same with his starter though. Like he just like secretly had this like gooey substance in a jar, and he didn't tell me like, oh, I'm baking bread. So I didn't really understand it. I'm really not ever in the kitchen. So one day we were going to Long Island. I guess you have to keep the starter alive.
Yeah, because it's a living organism, right?
Yeah.
Especially when it's very young.
Especially when it's very
young. When it's a baby. You strap it on, you make sure it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So he brought it with us to Long Island to visit my family. And so he had this like jar of goo in our cup holder. It was getting all over everything. I'm like, can we just throw this out? And he was like, no, this is like my starter. I'm like, whatever you say. I didn't really understand the process. And when good bread and good croissants came out of it, I was like, okay, whatever you need.
Now, what I have to ask you is, a lot of people toy around with baking. There's some really great cooks, chefs, pastry chefs that are moonlighting, How did you know, or at what point did you know, maybe we could sell some of this?
I mean, honestly, pretty early on, his croissants, I think it definitely, in hindsight, it took a while for him to really perfect it, but they were pretty good in the beginning. Especially, no offense to Americans, but like for us, I thought they were pretty good. So kind of like maybe a few months in, I said we should start selling it. Now that I compare those pastries to the ones we're selling now, I feel like maybe they weren't that great, but
it's only in hindsight.
Hindsight, yeah. Because right away when we sold bread to people, they were coming back. Like we had a lot of repeat customers. So,
and how long into that? Because I know right when you started selling, you guys were like, whoa, and it kept going and going. At what point did you say, wait, this could be a standalone business?
So we put up a menu in June of 2020. We started selling right away. like we put up a menu. I put it up in a Facebook group, not really thinking much, and people were ordering from us, which I thought was a little crazy. And then so from June, I would say until April, we were consistently getting orders. I actually quit my job in July. So a month later, I was like, I was like, this is pretty crazy. And like I said before that, I was working and going to school for so long. So it was kind of nice to be in the apartment with Gautier. And Gautier was like, yeah, quit your job. It's fine. He's very relaxed. So I quit my job a month in. And then I would say in April, when the apartment looked like a bakery, we had a freezer in our bedroom. Like we got rid of a bunch of stuff. Our refrigerator, we had no food for ourselves. It was all bread and butter. So we said,
that sounds like a dream.
Yeah, until you're really hungry and there's only dough in the refrigerator. But I would say April. So like 10 months after starting, we said either we go for it or maybe we pull back.
Now, how did you come up with the name?
Easy, over a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And we had no other idea. Gautier just looked at me and said, what about l'appartement 4F, where we're baking? And I said, perfect.
No, I did say apartment 4F.
Oh, yeah.
And you said we should make it French.
Oh, make it French. I mean,
make anything French.
That alone could have limited your sales.
Exactly. So yeah, it was like the easiest decision.
Yeah.
Now, considering you're a trained software engineer, you're a nursing student, also finance, there's a lot that goes into creating a business. You've got leases, the funding. I know you guys did fundraising, expenses, the ingredients that you still have coming in from France, rent, payroll, go on and on and on. I don't even know all that you bump into. What does that process look like? And how did you tackle the next steps?
A lot of Google. Gautier was Googling like how to run a bakery, how to open a business, even how to do payroll, I mean, luckily we've met so many people just from this business and everyone's so gracious, and I like to say nobody gatekeeps. Everybody, gives us their secrets and how they do it. And I really think the community has helped us, but honestly, it's like Gautier Googling a lot of things. I remember when we were fundraising, we're so lucky and fortunate that our community said fundraise and we'll support you, because they really wanted a bakery.
Yeah.
And so some of the community said, hey, we'll give you loans, but can you make a pitch deck and kind of tell us more about yourselves? And we were like, sure, we'll make a pitch deck. And then as soon as they left, we were like, what is a pitch deck? Like, we've never even heard of it. So it's a lot of I mean, we're still Googling things. Like, I know people are asking us questions, and I'm like, I mean, honestly, we are still learning. Google.
I love that. It's so relatable, because who hasn't had a moment where you're like,
Like, and then I like Gautier. I didn't let him, but I was like, okay, you do the pitch deck and I'll take care of the other things. And I didn't read the pitch deck before it went up, and we had it on a projector, and Gautier's first language is not English. So the pitch deck was like riddled in cute little like French typos and mistakes. And everyone's like, it's so charming. I'm like, Gautier, use spell check.
You're like, Gautier, really authentic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Exactly. So
now, I know you said at one point, one of the things I watched, that this was obviously the business part was very overwhelming, unexpected. What was like the biggest thing you learned along the way, or the biggest challenge you bumped into?
I mean, scaling, going from our little apartment where Gautier was baking every single item. He was inspecting everything. Like, his standards were so high.
Yeah.
A lot of times, if he felt like it wasn't up to his standards, he would just refund people and give them their order for free and explain like, okay. And everyone was like, oh no, it's fine. He was like, no. So like losing control of that and hiring people and not being able to do like quality control for every single thing that leaves, I think was really challenging for us.
And people kept coming more and more and more. So it's every day it's bake more. So
bake more. Yeah. And I was like, okay, bake more, but also bake them perfect. And he's like, I'm really trying. And I'm like,
Something's
okay,
got to give.
just
Yeah.
being gentle with ourselves. So in the beginning, we didn't expect that many people to show up, and at least we thought, okay, for the first day, it's going to be crazy, but then afterwards, it's going to be really slow. And then when there was a line almost every single day, yeah, we had to really quickly learn how to scale and make sure quality improved and teach people. Yeah.
Now, aside from the like excitement of just like, oh my gosh, like, has there ever been emotional moments where you're like, we did this,
Every
I feel like
day.
I'd cry, like, and just,
Yeah. And my staff, I think they like make fun of me because every time a customer comes in, I'm like, guys, can you believe this? And like, yes, it's like this every single day, every minute. And I'm like, but can you believe that me and Gautier did this? And like, yeah, we also can believe that. I'm like, I can't. Like, it's still, I mean, sometimes brands that I love reach out to me and I can't believe that they noticed us, or like celebrities, or even just like I said, right before we are on like a very small vacation, but before we left, there was a young girl coming in and getting a cookie after school. And I was like, I almost wanted to cry. I'm like, that used to be me. And Gautier's like, okay, we get it.
oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
love it.
Just being a part of people's routines, I think, is like the most like emotional thing for me.
Well, they always say too, like success can be a blessing and a curse, because you start with this beautiful idea, you're shocked it starts to work, but then how do you battle the, like you said, the maintaining the beautiful quality and also growing to the demand? And when do you, limit that? And I've heard that people have approached you and you guys really have wanted to keep this pretty sacred.
Yeah.
And in your community,
Yeah.
beyond just your community wants it, what is it that you're holding on to?
I would say, I know it sounds cheesy, but like honestly, authenticity and quality. We've been approached by investors, and like I said, we're new to this, and so we don't really care about getting bigger investments. We'd rather make sure that the quality is there and that people like, I always tell the story that me and Gautier were looking at the finances when we were in our apartment, and I was like, oh, can we cut cost on anything? And he was like, okay, I'll look for maybe a less expensive butter. And then he came back and he's like, I found this French butter. It's actually more expensive, but it'll make it better. And I'm like, well, okay, sure, obviously. But I just feel like if we had an investor, I don't really know how these things work, but if somebody said like, don't use these ingredients, or maybe try this, or I just don't want it to become inauthentic.
Right. Someone else's.
Yeah, someone else's. Exactly.
Because I think often when you look at the business model, the growth, it returns in numbers of money and money and money. But often the very thing that brought you to this is lost in that beautiful, perfect croissant.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh my God. So croissants are my guilty pleasure, clearly like yours, but which items sell out, and what's your advice to people that come and wait on the line if there's better times? Like if you were giving them the game plan of how to get in there, how should they get their hands on these kind of sellout items?
Well, really, the item that sell out very quickly is the croissant cereal.
I saw pictures of that. Amazing.
Yeah. If that sells out, I'm not kidding. If we open at 8 minutes. Yeah, by 8:04, all the boxes are gone. So if you want the croissant cereal, you really have to come not at 8, but when we like a few minutes before we open, maybe 7:45.
Yeah.
Maybe 7:30.
Yeah. Honestly,
a rainy day.
Yeah, I feel like people think we're producing the hype, or like manufacturing the sellout, the demand. We are not that clever. It's just that it's really hard to make them like, and I think that's the reason why that idea hasn't been done before. So it's very time consuming. So we really can only make 4 or 5 boxes. Sometimes I think 10 boxes I've seen
on good days.
But it's the people who are waiting in line right when we open, they snatch them all up. So
hype can be created for one day. It does not last if you don't have something backing it up, whether it's a personality in a person or a product. Hype is not that easy.
Yeah. Like, trust me, like people are like, Yeah, they're limiting it to create hype. I'm like, I would love if everybody in the world could get this croissant cereal. I just physically, it's just not
But
possible.
how cynical when you watch the videos of how long it takes.
Oh my
It's the
gosh.
beginning of time when things are handmade. There's going to be a huge demand and not a huge supply.
Exactly.
Basic
Yeah.
economics.
Yeah, exactly. Especially these, they take like days. And I mean, it's a croissant that's 10 times harder to make.
Now,
So
has your mom, Gautier, tried it? And what does she think of your abilities?
Oh no, she likes them now. She
She
comes
better
here.
like them now.
Yeah.
exactly.
No, she's very happy. We actually, she's a watercolor teacher,
Okay.
so we brought her in the bakery and she did some class for people here, and she was very
Oh, she
excited.
was so excited.
she
Yeah.
loved it, yeah.
She was
Well, I
already
love
planning her next trip.
the decor, by the way, which I know you did, Ashley, all the secondhand. I mean, there are so many layers. I don't mean that as a pun about a croissant, but to your story that make this so beautiful. But
Yeah.
what's next for you? Like, what are your dreams and your goals for the bakery? Are there new different products? Like what's kind of down the road for you guys?
I mean, we've been talking about opening up a second location, maybe in Manhattan. Just so I feel like Manhattan is so far, but yet so close. At least
Yeah.
it's easy for us to manage. And then also, I know Gautier is toying with different versions of the croissant cereal, like a mini pain au chocolat cereal could be nice.
Yeah.
He's made it.
Oh,
Yeah, so nothing too crazy, but kind of crazy.
like, are you guys living your dream? Because I know you finished school, Ashley, and now
Yeah.
you are able to work. You handle a lot with the social
Yeah.
media, the marketing. But Gautier, what started with just I need a good croissant. I'm French, and this is just highway robbery here in the U.S. Beyond that, are you loving this journey?
Yeah, my life is so much better now than when I was an engineer. It's
Yeah.
much more fun. It's not the same thing every day, and meeting so many different people, fun people. and-
Working with your hands, I feel like it's really
Yeah, yeah.
nice. Yeah, I feel like before, even from March until June, before we started selling, Gautier was just behind a computer all day, every day. And now he is, yeah, like I said, it's just the community has been incredible, and seeing the response. And we, I know maybe this isn't the best thing to say, but like it wasn't a dream of ours to open a bakery until it kind of became a necessity, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to us.
Well, and like unforeseen, you meet and you
Yes.
bond over the way your lives looked. And you're leaving the house at 6 a.m., home at 10 p.m. It's like false advertising. Now, like you guys get to put your heads and hearts and hands together, and you've built something so beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's been really fun from only seeing each other late at night to the weekends to like, I mean, I know it sounds really cheesy and I hope it doesn't ever stop, but like we get up in the morning, we make breakfast, we work out together, we go to work together. At the bakery, we kind of separate and I do different things, and then we come back and then we have dinner. And then if I'm gone for like a couple of days, I'm like, oh, I really miss you. Yeah, no, it's been really nice.
It's like this bakery is a baby between you, just like Chip. Like you guys
Yeah.
literally came together, believed in each other. And I just, you guys are amazing. Beyond the story, you're
Yeah.
such lovely people. I've read so much. I've listened to you guys. I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you
And
so much.
more success coming your way, because I love that you've also held on to the beautiful part that became so sacred. So
Thank you.
congratulations.
That means a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I look forward to those cereal types. You'll see me
Yes.
camping out outside the bakery, and I'll be like, what do you
It's
got?
coming. It's coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know Julia, who's on here. Julia? And did I not ask you anything you want to discuss? Did I miss anything?
No, I think you up.
Chip!
He's coming up.
Oh, is it as amazing having him as you wanted?
Yeah, it's even better. I really do spoil him. I always said, I whenever I saw a dog in a sweater, I would like kind of scoff and be like, oh my gosh, it's a dog. Like, and now Chip has like wool sweaters, cashmere scarves. It's
Had you ever had a dog before?
Never.
What about you, Gautier?
No, I never had that.
Okay, so I got my first when I was an adult by myself. I inherited one from my brother who was a bad papa, and then someone else. And I laughed because I was the gushy mushy, like they passed. They were 16, but I have like a bracelet. It's the only tattoo I've ever considered. And I have 3 human babies. And I'm like, they know that Peter and Trixie came before them. They're like, Mama, before we were in your belly, Peter and Trixie were. And I'm like, Max is like, don't tell them that. They're going to go to school and tell them their friends you carried a dog. And
Exactly. Exactly. That's how I feel. I'm like, I can't imagine loving anything as much as Chip. And everyone's like, you will, I promise. I'm like, I don't know.
You know what? I say both things are true. I never knew I could have the capacity to love, but I never loved my dogs any less.
Yeah.
Ever. And my sister was one of those people that had a kid and then was like, I think we're going to need to get rid of the dog. I'm like, you're a heartless person. Like,
I could never. No, I could never.
Never.
No. It's so bad.
I get it. But I look forward to following your story because you
thank
guys are really, I can't say enough. It's heartwarming on every level.
Thank you.
And Sarah, before you sign off, do you want to do the rapid game really quick?
Oh my gosh, I forgot the rapid game. I'm so sorry, Julia.
That's okay.
Yes. Sorry, guys. We have this Just Curious rapid fire questions because all of these interviews spark from my own curiosity. So it's about 6 easy questions, but I feel like you each have to answer.
Okay.
You can put la in front of any of it, Gautier. So what is something that brought you joy today?
Can I go first?
Sure, yeah.
Well, luckily we're in Miami right now, so the sun brought us some joy.
And well, I never do yoga, but today was my first yoga class, and yeah, it was fun. So.
You liked it?
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah.
It's good for you. It's good for the soul.
I guess.
What do you wish you could tell your younger self?
You can go first.
Don't try to plan your whole life because you never know what's gonna be. So.
Yeah, and I would tell myself to stress less. I know I wouldn't listen to my own advice, but just like, don't worry because things always work out.
What ingredient can you not live without?
Oh, butter.
Can I say butter too? Because
yes,
I feel like butter is really important.
When you have the right answer, you got to share it.
Yeah.
Now, what's on your bucket list?
No, I don't know bucket list. Open an apartment for life in a different country.
Wait, what?
Open an apartment for life in a different country.
Oh, you go international.
Yeah. Oh,
I love that.
Down the road, not anytime soon. Bucket list. I would like to open up a bakery where I'm from, like Southampton, Long Island. Yeah.
I love how both of you though went from being like standard 9 to 5ers or you 6 a.m. to 10 p.m.ers. And now both your answers are like, I'd like to open up. Like it's so casual now after you guys have literally climbed a mountain. But what has impacted you the most in life? In this life?
In this life, I would say it's going to sound cheesy again, but the community for sure, especially the Brooklyn Heights community. I feel like I don't know if we opened up anywhere else, if it would have been how it's been.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And well, for me, it's going to be Ashley because she's the one that pushed me.
Stop.
I love that answer.
That was a good answer. Sorry
so
to you.
You're like, I went with the community. What was I thinking? Now, this is the last question. What is something you are curious about right now?
Right now, whenever I go to a restaurant or a cafe, I'm curious to see how they do it. So I'm always like picking up and try to see the kitchen and how it's set up and how they do it better and stuff like that.
Perfecting.
I mean, I'm curious as to how people do this and raise a family. Because I can't imagine, I mean, sometimes we forget to eat. So I can't imagine being responsible for me and a whole family and managing a business. But I know that people do it all the time and people go to work and.
It's relative. Every time you say like, how could I, then you do it when you do it. Like when we always joke when we had 1 kid, we're like, this is impossible. Then we had 2 and we're like, 1 was a little easier. Then you have 3 and then you're like, what were we thinking?
Yeah.
Everyone hits survival mode and you start to, kind of, you have to give up certain, things you want to hoard, like the perfection or the hands-on for moments in time. to have it all.
Yeah,
which you can.
I'm just finding a lot of respect for people that raise families or take care of people other than themselves, because I can't, I mean, yeah, I'm curious about that.
I have to say what you guys are doing is actually like more mind-blowing to me than kids they've been doing for thousands of years. Not everyone opens a bakery in 4F. Let's just go there. So a heartfelt thank you to Gautier and Ashley for taking the time to chat. For everyone watching, if you're on the East Coast, run, don't walk. You might need to camp out, so get ready to Les Appartements 4F for the best treats in town.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. It was nice talking to you.
It was so nice talking to you. You're so great.
Thank you.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Big things can happen if you remain curious. How curious are you? I'll see you next time.